Now, to discuss those figures and give more context on that, we have DSWD Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao joining us live via Zoom. Ms. Irene, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Gretchen. Thank you very much for inviting the DSWD.
Okay, now you heard the figures. This is the fourth consecutive month that we are seeing a rise in the number of self-rated poor in the Philippines. How does the DSWD take this survey?
Well, of course, Gretchen, we recognize the result of this survey. And we use this as a listening tool to assess also the implementation of the various programs of the department that aim to alleviate poverty. In fact, we're using this information and comparing it with other statistical information so that we could intensify programs like the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program, which is an investment in human capital, and it aims to break intergenerational cycle of poverty. Apart from that, we continue to also intensify other programs such as the Walang Gutom. We also make sure that we have other programs working to complement these programs that I've mentioned, like the Sustainable Livelihood Program, the Kalahi Seeds. So we make sure that all of this complement with each other so that we could really achieve the objective of reducing poverty incidence in our country. And likewise, this statistical information also motivates us to innovate some more and develop other programs that could contribute in reducing poverty and hunger and malnutrition in our country.
Bakit po kaya may pagtaas ng 4 na sunod-sunod na buwan? Do you have an idea of what happened there or what's been happening? For us to understand, of course, that's coming from the 63% back in December, which was the highest number, I believe, in 21 years, since 2003, or more than 20 years. Do you have any idea as to what is leading to this increase in self-rated poverty?
Well, of course, for deeper analysis of the statistical information, we'll have to defer to experts like the NEDA and the Philippine Statistics Authority. But based on our discussions also, nakita naman natin na marami kasing mga factors that also affect the well-being of our poor, vulnerable, and marginalized sectors. Like in previous interviews, I've mentioned yung mga na-experience natin ng mga disasters or typhoons in the past months, yung mga volcanic eruptions like in Visayas, yung Canlaon. We recognize kasi na disasters affect everyone, but of course, the poor, the vulnerable, and the marginalized are disproportionately affected, and it exacerbates their current conditions. Kaya nga, ang DSWD, we continue to provide assistance to these families and individuals so that their level of well-being will not further go down and drop them to poverty. May mga iba't iba tayo mga interventions that address the immediate needs, especially if there are shocks and emergencies na nakakaapekto sa kanila. Doon nakafocus si DSWD, Gretchen, on the interventions, on the immediate assistance so that hindi lalong ma-exacerbate yung conditions ng mga mahirap nating kababayan.
Bagay mga pantawid. Kaya po ay yung 4Ps na nabanggit po ninyo, dyan pumapasok ang DSWD. Pero paano po yung adjustment ng DSWD dito nga po sa mga nakikita, nababasa po natin? Of course, yung pantawid na yan ay dapat nag-graduate din dyan yung mga tumatawid. Kumbaga parang kaya nga yung 4Ps, meron lang siyang specific number of years and then wala na sila sa listahan kapag nakaahon na sila. Paano yung programa ng DSWD na gano'n in identifying how to adjust its programs into what the poor needs in order to really get out of poverty at hindi lang yung ayuda na one time, big time, and then aasa na lang. Dahil kapag pumunta ka rin sa ground, actually galing na ako sa isang probinsya, at ang sabi nila doon ay minsan maaaring debilitating din yung ayuda kasi hindi na nagtatrabaho, umaasa na lang sa bigay. So how is the DSWD adjusting its programs?
Okay. Unang-una, Gretchen, the 4Ps or the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program is an investment in human capital, particularly in education and health. There are specific conditions that our beneficiaries need to comply with bago nila matanggap yung kanilang conditional cash grants. Tama ka dun sa nabanggit mo. Based on the 4Ps law, 7 years lamang pwedeng manatili yung mga program beneficiaries sa program. Kung kaya nga po, under the instruction of President Marcos Jr., we are now providing livelihood opportunities or employment opportunities to each graduating beneficiary to sustain the improvement in their level of well-being. How do we measure or how do we assess the improvement in the level of well-being? Meron po tayo mga program personnel sa bawat munisipyo na nag-implement tayo ng program at ina-assess ito using the social welfare and development indicators para makita kung level 1, level 2, o level 3. Kapag level 3 or self-sufficient na po sila, pwede na sila mag-exit sa program. Pero hindi natin sila hinahayaan. Before we transition and turn them over to their respective local government units, tinitiyak natin na nakakapag-participate sila sa mga isinasagawa natin ngayon ng mga jobs fair. In partnership with DOLE, DA, and other key agencies of the government, DSWD now is providing opportunities sa mga graduating beneficiaries na ito or exiting beneficiaries para mas masustain yung improvement in their level of well-being. And tama ka dun sa sinabi mo, para hindi nga sila bumalik pa uli doon sa kahirapan. And in addition to that, may mga ibang programs tayo nagko-complement, kagaya ng Sustainable Livelihood Program. Nagko-complement din yan sa 4Ps. We provide also livelihood opportunities to our beneficiaries by capacitating them and providing them the necessary resources, because again, we wanted to sustain yung improvement sa kanilang level of well-being. But then again, we recognize that there are some shocks or there are some emergencies that exposes their vulnerabilities. Kung kaya meron tayong mga ibang program like the assistance to individuals in crisis situation para immediately ma-address yung mga adverse shocks or crisis na kinakaharap nila. Kasi alam naman natin, Gretchen, even if maganda yung kanilang kabuhayan, mayroong trabaho ang isang miyembro ng pamilya. Pero if there's a member of the family who gets sick, hospitalized, or somebody dies because of a terminal illness, na-exhaust yung resources nila. Kaya meron tayong mga social assistance like assistance to individuals in crisis situation. At the same time, kapag may miyembro ng pamilya na naapektuhan ng inflation, meron din naman tayong ibang social safety net dyan, yung ayuda para sa Kapos at Kita program. So, you see, nagko-complement yung iba't ibang programs and services of the DSWD and of other government agencies. That's why we adopt a whole of government approach in addressing or in arresting yung problema on poverty.
Okay, actually, medyo ang dami po kasing mga programa na naririnig natin na ayuda program. For example, yung nabanggit mo, AIX, nandun din yung AKAP, at nandun din yung TUPAD. Ano yung pagkakaiba ng tatlo? I mean, may specific point ba yan in time when ito, papasok natin yung AIX, yung TUPAD para dito, yung AKAP para dito. Yung TUPAD, actually, kasi nabanggit mo na yung AKAP ay trabaho, para din dun pagkatapos nung shock, in shock situations. But yung TUPAD, saan naman pumapasok yun? At anong kaibahan dun sa AIX at saka sa AKAP?
Well, of course, TUPAD is also an intervention, but that is being spearheaded by the Department of Labor and Employment.
Okay.
Yung AIX and AKAP, yan po yung ini-implement naman ng DSWD. These are social assistance na immediately provide natin sa mga individuals who are facing certain crises or emergencies. And in AKAP nga, yan ay for individuals who are affected by the inflation and are not earning more than the statutory minimum wage. Ito ay mga interventions na binibigay natin to address some immediate needs as a result of adverse shocks or crises or emergencies na kinakaharap ng isang pamilya. Comparing it to the 4Ps, which is a developmental program, Yung 4Ps kasi, it's an investment and in the human capital, as I've earlier mentioned. And there are specific conditions that the beneficiaries need to comply with. Hindi yan basta-basta na ibinibigay. May core responsibilities or co-obligations yung ating mga 4Ps beneficiaries kasi naniniwala tayo para maka-break yung ating mga beneficiaries, lalong-lalo na yung mga bata from the intergenerational cycle of poverty. We have to provide them the necessary education and give access to them para ma-achieve nila yung academic requirements nila, lalo na ng mga bata, and maging malusog yung mga bata because they could only be productive and they would have a better chances of being fully employed in the future kapag sila ay malulusog. So yun naman yung objective ng program.
And the four-piece program has garnered praise from different parts of the world over its success. But the same could not be said over the ayuda programs. The ayuda programs have been the source of worry for many over the guardrails over which these programs would be implemented. Paano po natin nasisiguro na hindi ito maabuso? Meron po ba tayong datos? Una-una, doon sa nabanggit po ninyo sa AKAP, ito po ay para sa mga minimum wage earners who might need the bridge, no, para makatawid doon sa mga sitwasyon na yun. Pero pag tinignan niyo po yung guidelines, medyo malawak din po yung sakop niya. Meron din siyang medical assistance, meron din siyang burial assistance, meron din siyang food assistance, rice assistance, at iba pa. At nakasulat din doon sa guidelines po niya ay pwedeng more than isang beses na tumanggap ng ayuda mula sa AKAP program. Paano po yun? Paano po ang takbo nun? Meron po ba tayong numero as to how many this program should reach?
Yeah. Actually, meron tayong accomplishment report niyan. For 2024, tama no, we have guidelines on the implementation of the program. For the Ayuda para sa Kapusan Kita program, in 2024, we've served around 5 million beneficiaries. Ito yung mga individuals na hindi po nag-earn ng more than the statutory minimum wage but are affected by inflation. Yes, once every 3 months po based on the guidelines pwedeng makatanggap ng assistance. Ganun din yung dun sa assistance to individuals in crisis situation. Yung AICS kasi meron din niyang financial assistance, referral services, non-financial assistance. Dun sa financial, nabanggit niyo yung medical, burial, transportation. Again, ang objective ng mga programang yun ay to provide the necessary assistance to individuals who are facing crisis or emergencies.
Pero hindi po ba sa AICS yun? Hindi po ba dapat sa AICS yun? Nagkakaroon ng overlap over the definition kung pareho po sila ay ganun po yung pakay po nung ayuda?
Well, yung AICS kasi ano yan, based on the assessment of our social workers, nakikita kung talagang affected nga ng isang crisis or emergency, kagaya nga ng pagkakasakit ng isang family member. Doon din naman, kung ikukumpara naman natin siya doon sa ayuda para sa Kapusan Kita program, ito kasi yung may trabaho pero hindi sapat. Yun naman sa iba, sa AICS kasi, pwedeng yung mga indigent talaga.
Kahit walang trabaho. Oo.
Walang trabaho, pero nakakaranas ng krisis. Kaya nakikater naman natin sila dyan.
Asek, meron ba tayong graduation din mula dito sa mga ayuda program? May maximum amount ba na pwede lang matanggap ng isang individual? Kasi nakikita ko po dito, no, parang iba-iba yung amounts niya for the different kinds of assistance. But paano kung wari ako ay mag-apply ng AICS, ay ng AKAP at paulit-ulit ko pong ginawa yun, meron ba akong parang graduation point or meron po ba kayong assessment point na okay na to, wag na natin bigyan ito? Dapat kahit papaano ngayon ay nakatayo na siya sa kanyang paa so that we do not make them dependent on these social programs.
Yes, Gretchen. Actually, yung mga social workers po natin na nag-a-assess sa ating mga clients o mga beneficiaries, tinitignan yung mga support services, the external resources of the beneficiaries, and likewise of their family members. Kaya nga merong interview na ginagawa. And apart from that, tinitingnan din yung mga documents na sinasubmit sa atin. Sa medical assistance kasi, Gretchen, that's under ICE. Tinitignan ng ating mga social workers kung ano ba yung sakit. Ano rin ba yung medical certificate o medical abstract na sinasubmit galing sa mga doctors nila. That's part of the assessment para makita kung talagang nangangailangan ba ng regular na suporta. And then what are the other support mechanisms? Meron din ba silang natatanggap mula sa external partners din natin, no? Like the DOH or other agencies.
Pero
Kasi
pagdating
doon
po sa
natin
trabaho, kasi ito yung kapos-sakita, no? So meron ba tayong parang, dapat sa dulo ng programa, pag nabigyan natin to, ay makakuha na siya ng trabaho. Kasi parang sa nakikita niyo po, ay sinasabi po niyo ay assessment po ng social worker. So much of it, it would seem, is reliant on the point of view of our social workers. Are there more concrete milestones that should be reached?
Actually, Gretchen, I was proceeding to that na Dun
Okay,
sa assessment na ginagawa ng workers, tinitignan din kung ano ba yung skills, ano yung competencies, ano ba yung educational background noong client o noong beneficiary or their family members. Sa social work kasi may tinatawag din tayo na case referral. So, habang ina-assess ng social worker natin yung immediate need ng family, tinitignan din natin yung long-term na assistance. So, nakikita natin, nakapagtapos naman, meron namang skills, kinakailangan lang na i-capacitate further. So, rini-refer din natin sa TESDA para mas ma-enhance o ma-improve yung kanilang skills. At the same time, rini-refer din natin sa either sa Sustainable Livelihood Program ng DSWD or doon naman sa Department of Labor and Employment. So dyan po pumapasok yung ibang interventions na nakikita ng isang social worker. Kasi hindi lamang po nag-e-end yung ating assistance doon sa social assistance or financial assistance na ipinoprovide. We're also looking at other interventions. Again, the overall objective is to improve the level of well-being.
Secretary, ASEC, COMELEC has suspended several ayuda programs in different areas over alleged abuse of these programs in relation to the elections. What is your reaction to that? And meron po ba tayong mga reports na ng pang-abuso na natatanggap?
Well, Gretchen, of course, we're very grateful to the COMELEC for acting favorably on our request na ma-exempt yung mga iba't ibang programs and services natin doon sa COMELEC ban on public fund spending during this period. Because this means na hindi mahahamper yung pag-provide natin o pag-extend ng essential social welfare services to our clients and beneficiaries. Nakikita kasi natin na mga itong tulong na ito, of course, are very vital. And yung hindi pag-hamper ng delivery nito would really immensely help yung ating mga kababayan, especially those who are undergoing crisis. And tinitiyak naman ng department that there are certain safeguards instituted to insulate our programs and services from any forms of political interferences. In addition to that, we are also in close coordination with our partners para matulungan kami na pantayan yung implementation nito, lalong-lalo na on the ground, and ma-safeguard nga ito from any form of abuse.
Well, in the final 10 days leading up to the elections, all the ayuda programs are suspended. Meron po ba tayong adjustments o kakayanin naman po na kahit naka-suspend po yan?
That's correct. Nakalagay po doon sa memorandum ng COMELEC na 10 days before the election day ay wala na po tayong mga off-site activities. Kung kaya nga po yung mga magpapatuloy na lamang po ay yung dito yung sa on-site o yung regular na dinidistribute ng DSWD like yung burial, yung medical assistance sa mga tanggapan na po ng DSWD. Wala na po tayong isasagawa sa mga covered courts o mga gymnasiums, lahat po ng ipoprocess, yung mga immediate na assistance ay ipoprocess po sa mga tanggapan po ng aming ahensya. And we would like to guarantee the public that the delivery of essential services will not be hampered. We will continue to cater to the immediate needs of our clients and at the same time make sure that we prescribe or we follow doon sa mga existing guidelines po ng aming department.
Klaro po yan, pag may umiikot na pera sa mga voting areas ay hindi po yan ayuda at hindi po yan galing sa DSWD. Okay, maraming salamat at we hope magkaroon pa tayo ng mas sapat na pag-aaral para lalo pang mapagtibay ang ating mga programa sa DSWD sa paglutas ng itong ating kahirapan sa Pilipinas, pati na rin yung self-rated poverty that we are seeing over in the numbers. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We have DSWD Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao.